Hello, who am I kidding? Sup y'all, and welcome to Organization and Reorganization of Human Societies, Part 7. In this video, we're going to wrap up this unit with a snide remark. Religious and ideological beliefs and practices were transformed as states and empires grew and interacted. To begin with, there were similar religious and ethnic codes. Vedic religions outlined in Sanskrit scriptures developed into Hinduism, a monistic faith with the belief in one being and all other forms of reality as appearances of it. India's caste system reinforced a rigid social structure and allowed for political order, often without states. The Jewish people codified their monotheistic religion through Hebrew scriptures, displaying influences from Mesopotamia. These Abrahamic people were attacked and conquered at different times by the Assyrians, Babylonians, and Romans, leading to a diaspora, scattering them throughout the Mediterranean and Middle East. New belief systems emerged and spread as well. The Buddhist teachings were recorded in sutras and other scriptures in part as a reaction to Hindu beliefs. Buddhism branched into many schools including Theravada and Mahayana and changed over time as it spread through Ashoka in India and also through missionaries and merchants. Monasteries established safe havens to promote Buddhism's core lessons. The teachings of Confucius from the Analects instituted rituals, social relationships, and moral examples for all people, contrary to the strict laws and harsh punishments under legalism. Wu Di was the Han emperor who made Confucianism the state religion. Filial piety venerated the Chinese family as well as their ancestors, reinforcing respect between superior and inferior relationships. Confucianism's philosophies established a utilitarian social hierarchy as well as a pro-educational civil service system. Daoism, begun under Lao Tzu through the Tao Te Ching, showed the Chinese a way toward a counterbalance of Confucianism that was more anti-education and pro-nature through poetry and concepts such as yin and yang. Chinese culture was influenced by feng shui and the notion of buildings being aligned by the cardinal directions to promote the positive flow of energy. Taoists also relied on natural substances for medicinal purposes, such as prolonging life and seeking immortality. They also utilized metallurgy to try to become alchemists, attempting to create gold. Drawing on Judaism as well as Greco-Roman influences, Christianity grew out of the teachings, divinity, and resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. First spreading into parts of Afro-Eurasia through missionaries, merchants, and early saints, it was initially persecuted by the Romans, but gained imperial support beginning with Emperor Constantine and ultimately becoming the state religion by the end of the 4th century CE. Religions such as Christianity, but also Hinduism and Buddhism, were transformed as they spread partially through syncretism and cultural adaptation in other regions. For instance, the elevation of the Virgin Mary and the canonization of Jesus' apostles into saints helped to bring the polytheistic Romans into the fold. The Hellenistic view of the natural world established a philosophical perspective, not based in faith or superstition, but in rationalism, which emphasized logic, reasoning, empirical observation, and scientific investigation. They influenced the nature of political power and hierarchy through democracy, heavily influencing Rome, creating a Greco-Roman tradition. All of these belief systems and cultures solidified social structures as well as patriarchy. Buddhists and Christians established monasteries, in which men and women were welcome while attracting the poor as well. Outside of core areas and empires, animism, shamanism, and ancestor veneration persisted in regions such as Sub-Saharan Africa, rural China, equatorial South America, North America, and in the Pacific, while also being incorporated into other religions through syncretism. Key states and empires grew in number, size, and population, coming into contact with one another and competing for resources as well as power. Empires imposed political unity over smaller competing states throughout the world. In Southwest Asia, Persia was ruled under the Achaemenids, under rulers such as Cyrus, Darius, and Xerxes, and then through the Parthian and Sasanian dynasties, with its capital at Persepolis. In East Asia, China was ruled through the Qin Empire as well as the Han, with its capital in Chang'an. In South Asia, India was ruled through the Mauryan Empire, with its capital at Pataliputra and later through the Guptas. In the Mediterranean region, the Phoenicians created the world's first alphabet and established colonies such as Carthage. The Greek city-states, such as Athens and Sparta, established colonies and practiced democracy during the Hellenic period, which signifies the beginning of Athens becoming a democracy up to when Alexander the Great died. After the Macedonian conquest, the Hellenistic period witnessed the spread of Greek culture throughout Asia, with the great city of Alexandria as the intellectual capital of the world. This period ended with the Roman conquest of Greece. Rome, the first empire to dominate all of the Mediterranean, was pivotal in spreading Christianity. In North Africa, just south of Egypt, there were the Meroe, who had at least 10 women rule as monarchs. And further south, Aksum, that became a Christian nation in the middle of the 4th century CE. In Mesoamerica, there were the Maya city-states, as well as Teotihuacan. In Andean South America, the Moche. And in North America, there were the Pueblo-building Chaco and the mound-building Cahokia. Empires and states developed new techniques of imperial administration. They created centralized governments as well as elaborate legal systems and bureaucracies, such as the Mandate of Heaven bestowed upon Chinese emperors, as well as China's civil service exam system. Military power was utilized through diplomacy, specialized officers and soldiers, as well as fortifications and walls, such as the Great Wall in China and Hadrian's Wall in Roman-controlled Britain. These empires also promoted trade by means of common currencies and maintaining roads. Examples include Ashoka's in India, the Romans' road throughout the Mediterranean, and the Royal Road in Persia. Unique social and economic dimensions characterized these empires. Societies were based on hierarchies, including elites and landowners, peasants acting as cultivators and laborers, artisans, merchants, and even caste groups. But in virtually every society, patriarchy dominated gender roles and family life. Imperial societies maintained the production of food through slavery, rents, tributes, and even corvée labor, where, for instance, peasants would need to work for the state for an entire month each calendar year. Unmanaged political, cultural, and administrative difficulties led to the decline, collapse, and transformation into successor empires and states. The Roman, Han, Achaemenid, Mauryan, and Gupta empires all collapsed during this period for similar reasons. One of these has to do with geography. These empires incurred environmental damage to their territory through deforestation and soil erosion. Another issue dealt with social tensions and economic difficulties due to concentrating too much wealth in the hands of the rich and powerful elites. Their frontiers and borderlands often became too vast and were prone to invasions, such as Alexander the Great conquering the Persians or Rome falling to the Germanic Huns. In some instances, such as the case with the Romans and Han Chinese, the spread of disease pathogens like smallpox and measles added to their woes and ultimately helped aid in their decline. Due to the large-scale empires of this era, transregional trade intensified, leading to the creation and expansion of extensive networks of commercial and cultural exchange. New technologies and further domestication of pack animals facilitated these connections over land and sea and across multiple regions. These exchanges and routes will be further investigated and discussed in the next unit. But in the meantime,
good night and good luck.